This week we have church security interrupted a stabbing at a church and took a guy into custody and detained him before cops got there. We've got a pastor that killed himself after being charged with a sex crime with a child. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a bunch of Christians that were killed in a church in Burkina Faso. Tons of stuff to talk about crime-wise in churches this week. But I always like to start off with what the church threat security system level is right now. Right now, we are at condition orange, which means we're at a high risk of attack. You can always get the latest newsletter if you just sign up at christianwarriortraining.com. If you head over there, you can see what the current security threat level is, and then secure your church as necessary. Remember, we don't want to turn our churches into a bunker. We want to keep it open for worshipers to come, but also we're going to have to work a little bit harder because ISIS has told their people to come attack churches and synagogues. And of course, the FBI has come out and said that they feel that an attack is coming soon. My best guess, you definitely can't put your finger on it, but if I was a terrorist, I would think between now and the election would be a good time to create havoc in the United States and kind of get what they're looking for. All right, so remember, we're at condition orange, but let's move on to the crimes that have occurred in churches just over the past week. I do this broadcast every week. I know we have lots of new subscribers this week. We hit 100,000 subscribers. Last time I looked, we were at 102,000. We've had exponential growth. Every week, I break down crimes at churches, but I also tell you what you can do to make sure that some of these crimes don't happen to you at your church. All right, let's talk about that Sunday attack where there was a stabbing. Carl Anthony Wells, he's 31, was arrested and charged with first-degree assault for allegedly stabbing a man in the neck during a confrontation at a Springfield church on September 8, 2024. Now, the incident occurred after a verbal argument between two men during a church service. Wells reportedly attacked the victim from behind with a knife while waiting in line for a meal, and it caused a deep laceration from the victim's earlobe to the base of his neck. So you can figure out what he was doing there. And it just misses carotid artery. Now, the victim suffered a significant blood loss, but survived. Wells attempted to flee, but was detained by church security until police arrived. Now, it looks like there were shots fired at some point during this incident, but the problem is there aren't a lot of articles out there about this incident, and the ones that are out there are paywalled. So I don't know where the shots fired came from. It's not real clear. I would like to know more. If you are one of the church security members that were involved in this incident, drop me an email. You can always reply to one of my emails and it'll get to me. Let me know that you were involved in that. Also, if you guys have video, that would be really cool to bring to everybody here at Christian Warrior Training. I like debriefing these incidents. Everybody learns from the incidents you guys are involved in, and it helps us grow as church security team members. So if you know of somebody that was involved in that, or you were yourself involved in that, and it's funny, every time I do this each week, somebody will let me know, oh, that was my church and I was involved in that. And it's makes me realize how connected we are here at Christian Warrior Training. Next up, we got a man that started shooting a gun near a church in Laurel County, Kentucky. James Christopher Reed was arrested after reportedly firing multiple gunshots near a church on the evening of September 11th. Now, deputies from Laurel County Sheriff's Office responded to a 911 call about gunfire in the area of West Highway 3094. Now, witnesses reporting hearing 25 to 30 shots coming from the woods and seeing a man with a flashlight fleeing the area. Reed was identified by residents and charged with second-degree disorderly conduct. He was released on his own recognizance and is scheduled to appear in court on the 13th. Now, if you're in church and this occurs, lock down your church immediately, and if it's safe to do so, start barricading doors when the firing stops. Or if you can do it when the firing is going on, that's cool. Just be careful with that. Bullets go through doors and they go through walls. So after barricading entrances, move everyone to the most interior part of the church. And then the safety team is going to need to go to likely entrances and be ready to fend off any attacker if they try to enter. And simultaneously, you're going to call 911. If you don't have a church safety team, then people that are concealed carriers that might be at church should head out in that direction. Or if you don't have any of that, start arming yourself with something. Now, I know a lot of people teach run, hide, and fight, meaning run from the attacker, hide from the attacker, and then last resort, fight the attacker. I'm telling you right now, your only option is to fight the attacker. There is no run and hide. You're going to have to fight your way through it. All right. Next up, we got shots fired near a Maryland Heights church carnival, and 4 people are arrested. Now, on Saturday, shots were fired near the Holy Spirit Parish Carnival in Maryland Heights, Missouri, prompting an early closure of the event. Now, while no injuries were reported, Maryland Heights police, along with other local departments, arrested 4 people following the incident in the area of Parkwood Park. Now, Reverend Bob Evans of Holy Spirit Parish expressed shock at the event, but was thankful that no one was hurt and noted future carnivals are going to be reevaluated to ensure safety. All right. Now, it sounds like there was also like a big melee that happened about the same time. Now, look, this is probably the 4th reported shooting or disturbance or riot at a church carnival in the United States this summer. Now, if you're having a get-together like a trunk or treat coming up for October or a car show or something like this, you're going to need to provide security. And a lot of people skip on that part. They don't bring security in for that. You're going to need staff just like you do at any church service and monitor for those people that are looking to do evil. Now, I do have a class over at ChristianWarriorTraining.com where all of our training is free. It's free because people subscribe to the newsletter and it allows me to pump out that free training. You can take a class over there that helps you identify gang members and other people that are entering your church so you can keep an eye on them. Now, to be clear, we want gang members and the more least desirables to come into our church because we want to minister to them and help them change their ways, right? Because that's what Jesus would do. But that doesn't mean we don't keep our eye off of them because they are going to attract other people that are going to want to do harm to them. Now, the other thing to remember, I have to remind you that we are at condition orange, which is high risk of attacks, and that we are at threat of an attack in the United States, according to Homeland Security and the FBI. So if you have that big get together, that's a big juicy target for some terrorists. So you are going to want to provide security for that event. All right, we're going to move on to sexual assaults now. There's a young Chicago priest that's under investigation for alleged child abuse. Now, a state investigation is underway into allegations of sexual abuse by a newly ordained priest, Father Martin Nyberg, in the Archdiocese of Chicago. Now, the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services is investigating claims of child exploitation and molestation during a public penance service at St. Josaphat Parish, where Father Nyberg has served since July 2023. Now, the allegations involve inappropriate conduct during an 8th grade confirmation retreat in August. Now, Father Nyberg, who denies the accusations, has been asked to step aside from his ministry pending the outcome of the investigation. The Archdiocese is following its protocols for handling such cases, probably because they got in trouble in the past for not doing it properly, but I digress. Now, it includes offering support to those who have alleged abuse. Now, my personal opinion, it's a shame that they released his name prior to him being charged. I have done sensitive investigations like this, and we never let the name out ever until we actually charge the person so it doesn't screw up our investigation. And also, what happens if we're wrong? What happens if we got it wrong? We do the investigation, we find out not that we did it wrong, but that the people with these accusations, that it didn't really happen. That does bother me a little bit. Now, with that said, if you get a similar complaint, you're going to need to contact law enforcement and then start an internal investigation. Now, you're not going to interfere with the law enforcement investigation, but you are going to try to see if there are other victims and get ready to support any victims if you find them. What you don't want to do is to bury your problems like the Catholic Church used to do, because that is a sin and we should not be doing that. All right. An Inland Empire pastor was arrested for allegedly sexually assaulting minors. Now, Jose Vasquez is a pastor in the Inland Empire of California, which is down in Southern California. He was arrested on September 5th by Ontario police following allegations of inappropriate behavior involving multiple minors. I just did a talk at a church right next to Ontario. In fact, I flew into Ontario Airport. All right, now the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department began investigating after a victim came forward in July. Vasquez, who lives in Menifee, had previously been accused of by another individual in 2021. Now, he has been charged and is currently held at the West Valley Detention Center. Until his arrest, Vasquez was affiliated with several churches in the region, most recently serving as head pastor at Camino de Sanidad Church in Menifee. Now, the sheriff's department urges anyone with additional info to come forward. All right. Now, it's important for me to mention that sexual predators and pedophiles are going to get jobs in churches, including as a pastor, knowing that they're going to have access to children and vulnerable adults. Now, they prey off of our forgiving nature and our tendency to bury our dirt and not call the police. So, pro tip here, you should 100% call the police every single time, because if you don't, it's a sin and you don't want to do that, right? All right, next up, a Maybane pastor was arrested for an alleged sexual battery at a Walmart. Now, Jeffrey Dwayne Smith, he's a 67-year-old pastor at a Presbyterian church in North Carolina, was arrested on September 11th and charged with misdemeanor sexual battery. Now, Smith is accused of groping a man in the men's restroom at a Walmart on Maybane Oaks Road. Now, according to the arrest warrant, Smith allegedly touched the victim against his will and fled the scene. Now, later being apprehended in the woods behind a nearby gas station, he was booked into the Alamance County Detention Center, released on a $3,000 bond. If he's convicted, he could face 90 years in jail and be required to register as a sex offender for at least 30 years. Now, usually this incident, I'm not going to go too deep into it. It's an unfortunate incident. Usually if it's a misdemeanor, it's because they got groped on the outside of the clothing versus inside of the clothing. It's a felony. That's just for most states. I don't know how it is in North Carolina. Let me know in the comments. What's the law in North Carolina? How does that look? All right, next up. This is a sad event. A Columbia pastor died by an apparent suicide after he was charged with sexual battery. Now, David Baker, he's the lead pastor of Family Baptist Church in Columbia, Tennessee, died of an apparent suicide on September 6th, one day after being charged with aggravated sexual battery involving a minor by the Maury County Sheriff's Office. Now, according to Columbia Police Chief Jeremy Alsop, Baker entered the emergency room at Maury Regional Medical Center, went directly to a bathroom, and was later found deceased. Now, Baker had been released on a $200,000 bond following his arrest, with a court date scheduled for October 9th. Now, Baker was a former candidate for Maury County mayor in 2022 and also served as a chaplain at the county jail for 28 years. Now, the one thing I have not covered about all of these sexual assaults is what you should do with the offender. Now, a lot of times I tell you to put them on leave and to fire them and then go handle the victim and look for other victims. But I haven't mentioned that you should stay in contact with the offender. Now, I know it sounds odd, and we tend to cut ties with people that do vile crimes or any crime, but we should stay in touch to make sure that they don't harm themselves. Now, they can still seek forgiveness. Now they're still going to be held accountable for their actions, okay? And they should be looked after spiritually. Now, I know that sounds odd coming from a former cop, but it is the basis of our beliefs in Jesus. So our faith also calls for mercy, forgiveness, and care for all souls, even those who have committed grievous wrongs. Again, that doesn't mean he's not going to be held accountable. It doesn't mean we're not going to call the police and we're not going to do all these things. They're going to be arrested. They're probably going to have to go to prison, but that doesn't mean we don't keep ministering to them and make sure they get back on the right path, right? Because that's what Jesus would do. Missouri Church. All right, so Scott Gregory Taylor, sorry, man, I don't know why I can't talk today, is a 36-year-old man from Raymore, Missouri. And he was arrested on September 3rd of this year and charged with second-degree arson for setting fire to Harmony Baptist Church in Leeton, Missouri in July of 2020. It's 4 years ago. All right, so the church was over 100 years old, was destroyed in the fire, and has since been demolished. Now, the arrest followed a 4-year investigation by the Missouri Division of Fire Safety, the Johnson County Fire Investigation Unit, and the Johnson County Fire Protection District, which uncovered evidence including security cam footage showing a man setting the fire. Now, local authorities and community members expressed relief and gratitude for the collaborative efforts leading to the arrest. Now, I do got to say, good job to those Missouri guys that were deep in that investigation. Way to press the fight to come get this guy 4 years later. Now, your church, you need a burglary alarm, but you also need a fire alarm, and you need a 4K video system so we can identify those people that did your church wrong. That fire alarm and the burglar alarm are super important. All right, moving on to property crimes. We got a former pastor charged with stealing $350,000 from the Lothian Church insurance claim. Now, Jerome Isaac Hurley, a former pastor of Miracle Temple in Lothian, Maryland, has been charged with felony theft for allegedly transferring nearly $350,000. That's over $250,000. I mean, think about it that way. From a church insurance payout to his own account, his personal account. Now, the funds were obtained after a 2020 fire at church-owned property. They were discovered missing in 23, prompting church officials to alert the authorities. Now, Hurley, who managed the church's finances, is accused of transferring the money shortly after it was deposited into the church's account. He appeared in court on September 10th. His trial set for December. All right, now look, man, there is no way that over $250,000 should have been missing for that long without anybody ever noticing. How you get around that is a solid policy on auditing the books that's going to go a long way to keeping everybody honest and making sure that your finances stay stable. Now, audits keep a wrongdoer from thinking about stealing. It keeps everybody honest. It is what you should be doing. You should be doing audits regularly, not once a year, more frequently. That way, the people doing the books know that you're constantly looking and they are not going to get away with it. Keeps the devil from taking hold of us. Next up, a woman was arrested for burglary of Kemper County Church. Cherokee Bell has been arrested in Kemper County, Mississippi, on multiple burglary charges, including an attempted break-in at a Dollar General store and a burglary at Bluff Springs Baptist Church on June 22nd. Bell unsuccessfully attempted to enter the Dollar General by smashing the glass doors and attempting to disconnect the power. The next day, she allegedly broke into the church, rifling through cabinets and drawers and taking a flat screen TV, which was later abandoned near the scene. Now, Bell's charged with attempted burglary of a commercial building and burglary of a church. Bail is set at $40,000. This is my weekly reminder to you to get a burglar alarm and a fire alarm for your church in a 4K video system. I'm just going to keep repeating this for the next million years until churches realize that they're prime targets because, y'all don't have alarms. That's why. The other thing is they target you because you don't have alarms, right? I hope you understand that. All right, international stories. These ones are a big deal. Don't tune out yet. This one's important, all right? So a couple gunmen attacked an emo church in Nigeria, killed a pastor's aide, and kidnapped 2 people. This is happening on the regular in Nigeria right now. And we have a worse one coming up in Burkina Faso. Now, look, on September 7th, gunmen attacked the God's Doing Healing and Deliverance Ministry in Orodo, Imo State, Nigeria, killing a youth leader and a church aide. The church aide's name is Samuel Ogbonna, and they kidnapped 2 other people. Now, the attackers arrived in 2 vehicles, stormed the church during a service, demanded to see the pastor, and upon learning he wasn't present, ordered the congregation to lie face down, robbing them of all their belongings. Now, Ogbonna was shot while fleeing the scene, and 2 abducted church members were later released along some expressway. Now, the incident has caused widespread fear in the community, prompting some residents to flee the area. This is an almost daily occurrence in Nigeria. Now, look, my biggest following besides America is actually Nigeria and then Canada and some European countries. Nigeria is taking a big part of my following on YouTube and on my Substack at ChristianWarriorTraining.com. Now, look, to my Nigeria people that are following this, all right, I've been seeing that this style of an attack on a church frequently. In fact, the one we're going to talk about in Burkina Faso, where they killed multiple people in a church, this is the exact same way they attack churches each time. Now, look, I don't have a foolproof system for you, but all you've got to do is put a lookout out ahead of your church during your service with a radio, or if they can just yell, okay? That person needs excellent situational awareness. Their only job is to look around and look for potential danger. When they see that danger, they radio ahead, call ahead, whatever you guys decide, to the church to go on lockdown. All the congregants move into the center of the church and secure all windows and doors and start barricading both. The person outside with the radio should stay hidden and report what he is seeing. Congregants should arm themselves with anything that they can find that could be used as a weapon, and then prepare to fight if the suspects enter the church. Now, this is the best option I can give you. I'm actually going to do a separate video for all of my African followers to talk about how you can defend your church against this attack. It's both criminals and it's ISIS type people and Al Qaeda type people that are attacking you, or Boko Haram or somebody like that. It is, I'm not going to say it's easy to stop this attack. It's a simple plan. It's going to be hard for you to do because you're going to have to be out of your comfort zone, but we have to protect our people. I will go more in depth into a bigger video, hopefully in the next week or so I can help you guys out. We're going to move on to Burkina Faso, where an Islamist militants killed 26 Christian men in a church attack. Now, this happened on August 25th, so a little late getting for us to put this out. But Islamicists from a group called JNIM, I can't say the name. It's a Muslim name. It's a group affiliated with Al Qaeda. They attacked a church in the village of Konla in Banwa province in Burkina Faso, and they killed 26 Christian men during a morning service. Now, the attackers entered the church, ordered women and children to leave, and then detained and executed the men. Following the attack, they set fire to houses, stole livestock before they left the village. Now, 2 militants died after accidentally triggering an explosive device. Sounds awesome. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad that happened to them and that they had planted, so dummies got what they deserved. The surviving villagers have fled to the nearby town of Senaba for safety. Now, again, this is the same MO as the church that we just talked about in Nigeria. So if you look at, sorry, I should have put this one up. I actually have a Catholic church in my newsletter that I put up. It's a Catholic church from Burkina Faso. I put that up so you guys can look at it, and it seems very easy to secure against terrorists. So I was having a hard time conceptualizing what a church looked like in Africa, if it's like a similar build, because I know some South Pacific countries a little more open air, so I didn't know what it looked like where you're at. But the key here is that congregants have to arm themselves and fight off the attackers. Self-defense is not a sin. Let's look at Luke 22:36 through 38. The verse says, he said to them, but now let the one who has a money bag take it, and likewise a knapsack, and let the one who has no sword sell his cloak and buy one. Now look, in this passage, Jesus is speaking to his disciples about being prepared for the challenges that they're going to face after his departure. While this is often interpreted metaphorically, it does show a recognition of the need to be prepared to defend yourself. I'm actually going to do a separate video and article for ChristianWarriorTraining.com with a simple title, Is Self-Defense a Sin? I'm just going to give you a head start. No, it's not. But I'm actually going to do a deep dive on the Bible. What does the Bible say about self-defense? Because this comes up constantly. For the people in Africa, in America, we teach run, hide, fight. I just talked about that a minute ago. You guys don't have the option of running and hiding. You are going to have to fight these terrorists. That's the only way that your people are going to survive. And it is okay to fight back against them and to stop them. So again, do just like what I told the Nigerians to do. And this is for all my people in Burkina Faso. And that is another country that does follow this channel. Have a look out when they see the terrorists coming, call and start locking everything down, barricading everything, arming your people within, and be ready to fight them. If you don't, they are going to kill you, and we need you to continue on. Now, this is not shocking to us. We know that we are going to be persecuted for our beliefs. I'm ready for that. I know that that's going to occur to me. I'm totally okay with that. But when they come for me, I am making sure that I'm going to defend myself all the way down. And I want to share that knowledge to you so that you can defend yourselves as well. That's all I've got for now. I've got a lot of stuff planned coming up, some big things for the YouTube channel here. We have so many new followers. I want to thank you for following us. If you're new here, hit subscribe, like, follow, leave a comment. About 86% of the people that watch this video are going to be returning from watching a video before but haven't subscribed. If you made it all the way to this point, hit subscribe. That means you liked it. And there's more good stuff to come. All I do is talk about our churches and the safety of our churches. There are 2 things I want you to do when we leave here. Number 1, I want you to pray unceasingly for the safety of you, your church, and your family. And then next up, I want you to remember your ABCs. Always be caring,